Now, if you can't stay consistent in the gym, out of everything I've tried, out of everyone I've spoken to, the best thing you can do for yourself is to make yourself want it more badly. There's people who say that you can keep yourself motivated through repeated exposure, which is this method whereby you try to surround your environment with as much things as possible that remind you of your goals or whatever endeavor that you're pursuing. For example, for kids growing up, let's say a parent wants the child to learn chess. They surround their environment with a shit ton of chess things like chess books, chess boards, chess pieces all over the place. And eventually, because that is in your environment all the time, it constantly reminds you of the goals that you're trying to pursue and the things that you should and want to be interested in. And for the gym, that could be like convincing your algorithm to suggest to you gym-based content, incredibly good physiques that you look at every time you doom scroll. There are people who support this method of giving yourself inspiration and motivation to pursue the gym and to stay consistent in the gym so that you always seek for a better physique and things like that. But I found for myself that even that doesn't work out very well because it's hard to always be in an environment that reminds you of that. And besides that, the people around you could always convince you otherwise. Whether it's your family or your friends, they could bring you to easily start thinking how unnecessary it is to focus on the gym because you realize that, you're still loved and cared for even if you don't go to the gym. And in fact, people kind of shame you for eating so much protein. People shame you for being jacked and things like that. People say it's unnecessary. The way people eat and the way people live their daily lives completely in mismatch to somebody who will want to get a better physique or look better or stay consistent in the gym. Being surrounded with undisciplined people and people who don't have the same ambitions as you do, it can be very easy to go off track all the time, every single week. The best thing that helped me stay through all of this is that despite all the people telling me that my motivations were unhealthy, I stuck to them and I held to them because I honestly told myself and I honestly understood that the outcome that I was pursuing was worth it and that staying at the place I currently was just not an option for me at all. If I wish to be somebody who is impressive, if I wish to be somebody who has some level of control over my life, if I wish to be somebody who could attract girls without having to overthink about it, without having to play pointless games, if I wanted to be somebody who commanded respect wherever I went, who is admired by people, who is asked for advice, who is helpful, who is seen as capable and responsible, I know that carrying myself to a level where it's presentable, I know that that is effective. I know that in a world where social media exaggerates how good everybody's life looks, everybody has their highlight reels online, everybody's covered in makeup, and everybody is taking photos in the perfect lighting and angles. And the standards have risen so much more, and it is incredibly important to look good. Now you can be upset about that, shame it, dismiss it, think it is shallow and superficial, which it kind of absolutely is. But it is also an absolute logical conclusion you can come to that it does matter and it does not hurt for you to get healthy and look better. Because looking better is simply being healthy. A good jaw structure is simply reflective of how well you breathe. Good skin, good hair, good everything. Leanness in the face, it is all a reflection of health in the body and what you put into your body. So the way I convinced myself to stay consistent in the gym is through a lot of self-deprecation. Now, was that conscious? Was that deliberate? No, I wasn't kind of forcing myself to think in that negative way, but I let it take over me. I didn't resist it because I understood that this feeling could help me. And it could be quite destructive. It could cause slumps in a couple of months. I realized that without those negative emotions, without those motivators and those stressors, what happens is if you allow yourself to not rely on anything pushing you and you are surrounded by people with bad habits who don't have the same goals as you do, you're just going to be off track every single week over and over, which is much worse than being off track once a month when you burn out. Now, burnout is almost unavoidable because there's no perfect mindset unless you fully enjoy something and you're fully satisfied with the amount of progress you're getting from it. You don't feel like you need it. You don't feel like you don't feel like you're losing anything from not having it. Without those thoughts, you're never going to not burn out. So burnout is inevitable. It's just about how you react to it. Now, when somebody says that motivators are unhealthy, they mean that it could lead to burnout, or they mean that it could affect your mental health and how you think about yourself and how you see the world. But if you logically look at it, as simply something that if you don't have, you will suffer the consequences of a lack of opportunity, and that's it. And don't attach your self-worth to it, thinking that you're inferior to other people just because you lack the genetics or the time to invest into yourself. Because if you stick to a few fundamental principles, it is not super hard to look better. And just being honest with what motivates you, leaning into it despite what anybody tells you about how unhealthy it could be. Because using that term that those mindsets are unhealthy basically gives you an excuse to lean towards every time things get difficult. Once it gets hard to get consistent, once it gets difficult to stay on track, to eat healthily, to sleep on time, to train on that specific day, you start to tell yourself that these mindsets that are pushing you to get there are unhealthy, when simply it isn't, and it's just a sense of anxiousness because you've attached your identity to staying fit and being good looking, and you've attached your mindset to understand that it is perfectly logical for you to pursue those things. That anxiety is actually a perfectly healthy thing. That stressor is telling you to get back on track, telling you to do what you find to be genuinely important. And these people will brainwash you. You see so much different information. Every aunt and uncle and parent is telling you that it is unhealthy to consume protein when you buy a box of Oreos and they don't say anything about it. It doesn't make any sense. You know it doesn't make any sense, and you know what you want. You know what outcome will bring you the best social opportunity, and you know that you want it. And when you allow yourself to lean into that and remove all the noise and almost turn into this absolute kind of person who understands their conviction, that's when you can start to stay consistent and make progress. Now, of course, you don't need to be a complete asshole about it. If somebody tells you that, oh, it's fine to eat junk food once in a while, of course, you don't fucking perk up and insult them for saying something like that. You just smile and then you go about making your own improvements. And if they wish to make the same improvements as you, then you give them the advice that they need to hear. All this, it's okay in moderation, all this balance that they preach, all these excuses that people make, you have to shut it out if you wish to be impressive in some way. It is simply just like that. For example, if you want to be incredibly good at piano, are you going to listen to somebody who tells you that it is meaningless to play piano? Are you going to listen to somebody that tells you that, oh, how do you have so much time to play so much piano? Or why would you even want to play so much piano? You will not listen to anything somebody who says that to you says, simply because it isn't helpful towards your goals. Not because you have a vendetta against them or because you hate them, but because these thoughts are just from another person who doesn't have similar goals as you do. You have to block out all these thoughts that these mindsets are unhealthy, that it is okay to eat junk food in moderation, that it is okay to do all these funny things in moderation, it is okay to take a rest day anytime you want. No, you stick to something that you've written for yourself, you stick to a plan, and you stick to it even when you don't feel like it. And what happens when you do it even when you don't feel like it? That develops discipline, that develops identity, because you have made the sacrifices for something. That's when passion arises. That's when your identity gets welded into whatever it is you are doing. It becomes part of you because you've made sacrifices for it. And once that happens, it becomes way harder for yourself to burn out or to lose discipline or to start to stray away from the gym or whatever it is that you're pursuing. So stay honest with yourself, push hard, and you got this. I love you. Good luck. It's a battle.